FBI Director James Comey cost Hillary Clinton the presidency. Well, one longtime Washington insider argues that the answer to that question was a key determining factor in Trump's win. Here to talk about that with us today is former special counsel to President Bill Clinton, Lanny Davis, and he's the author of the new book, The Unmaking of the President 2016, How FBI Director James Comey Cost Hillary Clinton the Presidency. Lanny, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you say that simple math proves that Hillary Clinton should have won. Can you explain?
Yes, I started by doing research with no intention of writing a book, trying to use my grief constructively by looking at the pre-Comey letter, October 28th in the afternoon polling that was done. And then to my shock, the cataclysmic drop of all of Hillary Clinton's poll numbers could only have been a result of the Comey letter, because on the morning of October 28th, she was ahead of Donald Trump nationally by 5.9%. In key battleground states, she was ahead by significant margins. By the afternoon and the evening, with headlines across the country, Hillary Clinton under new emails, criminal investigation, her numbers just plummeted. And I kept looking for other reasons why that could have possibly occurred. And then I looked at data that showed that even her favorability and unfavorability ratio had come to about 50-50 on the 28th in the morning. 3 days later, she was 2-to-1 negative, as all those headlines saturated the media 24/7. And so I reached the conclusion that the Comey letter, she made lots of mistakes that could be attributed to her defeat, which she has taken ownership of. But on the morning of the 28th, she was President of the United States, the Comey letter hit, and then everything went down very quickly.
So interesting. So at a book signing, a former ambassador to Portugal said, "It's probably the most depressing book I've ever read in my life. The outcome is devastating." And he said that it would become a part of history. Obviously, the election has come and gone. So what does this book mean for the historical record? What lessons have you learned and you hope will be imparted through your work?
First of all, that is a great question. Very few people ask me, what's the point? I don't intend to continue with my grief, and it is depressing to read. It's depressing to write this book when I realized what I had stumbled upon. But I also saw in Jim Comey a rogue and a renegade who gets to decide what rules he's going to follow. So I do agree with Donald Trump on one thing. He should have been fired. I believe by President Obama, or the Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates had the authority to fire him. He violated a rule that has gone back 75 years in the Justice Department. You don't take action that might affect a presidential election within 60 days. He delayed in actually looking at the emails before he sent his letter to Congress by almost 24 days. It took him 6 days once he actually looked at the laptop of Mr. Weiner and discovered nothing was there. And 6 days later, on the morning of November 6th, he whispered, "Oops, sorry, nothing there." Had he done that on October 3rd, do the math, by October 9th, it's all over, and Hillary Clinton can run with a positive message for the last month of the campaign. So Jim Comey has a narcissism that allows him to decide what rules to follow and what rules not to follow. I'm looking forward to his forthcoming book, where he calls it a higher loyalty. Only Jim Comey thinks he is higher than the rules that everybody else has to follow. And that's why I certainly agreed with Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein when he recommended that Mr. Comey be fired.
Very fascinating. Everyone seems to be very passionate about this man on one side or the other. Quickly, I would like to get your take on U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe into the Russian meddling. He charged Attorney Alex van der Zwaan with lying about his communications with Rick Gates, a former aide to Trump's campaign. What is your take on all of this investigation from beginning to end, the most recent developments, and where you think it goes from here?
I really don't know, other than my high regard for Mr. Mueller, who I've met once or twice, as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, as a man of high integrity. I think that's virtually unanimous in Washington. I also am amazed at the absence of leaks. Only Mr. Mueller and his team know what they know and are very careful and meticulous in deciding who's pleading guilty, who's going to be indicted.
Right.
If I were President Trump and his lawyers, I would be very careful in dealing with Mr. Mueller. He is very good.
Right. Well, thank you, Lanny, so much for joining us, and congratulations on the new book.
Thanks for having me, Kristen.
Of course.
Thank you.
The book, The Unmaking of the President, 2016, How FBI Director James Comey Cost Hillary Clinton the Presidency.